I'll talk about going back. Let's step back real quick and reading a lot about your life. You had a very, very strong mom and an extraordinarily strong dad. When you look back, Harry, what were 2 or 3 of the really life lessons that they taught you that still stick with you today?
My family broke up when I was 9 years old. And it took me a long time to wrap my mind around that situation. What amazed me in later years was not that a man and a woman with 8 children would break up after 10 years, but that they were able to stay together for 10 years, long enough to have 8 children. I mean, I'm an Ivy League PhD and college professor and lecturing and writing and so forth and so on. And my wife was deputy superintendent of schools in a school district here in California for 35 years, a master's degree and so forth. We have 3 children who were just absolutely great kids. I mean, a lawyer, a doctor, and a computer software specialist was what they have turned out to be. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't understand how they could have dealt with 8. Dealing with 3, I mean, we had to run a very, very tight ship with both of us working and 3 intelligent, bright, active kids. We had to lay down some real hard, simple, straightforward rules in a house. You'll respect your teacher, you will respect us, and there will be no dope, no babies, and no bums. I mean, my daughter asked me, "Well, Dad, how we know a bum?" You'll know a bum when I see one. So, I mean, it was a struggle for us to do the right thing by our kids. And so when I look back at my parents with 8, my father being in the situation he was, my mother being barely literate, with 8 kids in East St. Louis at that particular time, the amazing thing to me is that they stayed together long enough to have 8 kids. And as my father said, you're going to see a lot of things from me and your mama that you don't want to be. And that's a lesson, too, if you're smart enough to master it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there were always those kinds of moments. But the fact that they survived, prevailed, and even became models in so many ways has held me in good stead. My old man used to say that if you can get out of East St. Louis clean and sane and still hopeful, still striving, there's nothing else that this world will be able to do to you. And he was absolutely right. I mean, so the hard times that I saw breaking people in my years in school, folks dropping out, going berserk, going nuts, doing all kind of crazy things. I looked at it and said, "Man, what are you? you don't know what hard times are." So East St. Louis and my mother and father, my parents, held me put me in an extremely positive disposition toward anything else that I might have been confronted with in the world.
Harry, it was East St. Louis High School, which you guys call East High, had been integrated, right. And you chose to go there when you could have gone to the predominantly black school. What was the thought process and evaluation that went into deciding which high school you were going to attend?
My father chose for me to go to East Side. We called it East Side. Mm-hmm. I could have gone to Lincoln, but they were...
Lincoln was a predominantly black school.
Lincoln was the all-black school. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it was like maybe 6 blocks from my house. East Side was on the other side of town. I mean, you had to cross into the white neighborhoods to go to East Side. And my father decided that you're going to go to East Side because that is who you're going to have to compete against. You're going to have to be able to step up with these white kids and compete successfully, and because the world is changing. Mm-hmm. And you have to remember, 1957, we're talking about 3 years after Brown versus Board of Education, Topeka, Kansas. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to be able to step out into the world. And I want you to go to East Side. I want you to have that experience athletically. I want you to have that experience in terms of competing educationally. And that was the auspices under which I wound up going to East Side. Of course, they were more than happy to, bring in the athletes. Their team went from all white to most of the stars being black. I mean, overnight, because that's, as soon as the school opened up, they were more than welcoming to the athletes. It was like at the college level. I mean, and time after time after time, you had black athletes integrating the institution, whether it's Alabama, whether it's Jerry Levias down at SMU,
Perry Wallace at
Vanderbilt, right? Absolutely, absolutely. So this was happening right down through the high school ranks, and that was the auspices under which I went to Eastside. You take my old man out of the equation, I'm over at Lincoln with all my buddies.